This is topic 6-3, translating into solving equations with variables. Our objective for today is I can translate verbal descriptions into equations and solve the equation. To make an essential question, we're just going to ask, how can I translate verbal descriptions into equations and solve the equation? So we have two things going on. First, we have to translate the verbal description into the equation, then actually solve the equation. But let's start with a Bell-work problem that reviews relations and functions. Which of the following relations is a function? In order to be a function, your x cannot repeat. They must all be different. So let's look at our x values. And 1, we have the x-coordinate is 0 for the first one, x-coordinate is 0 for the second one, x-coordinate is 0 for the third one. Our x's repeat, so this cannot be a function. And 2, we have x is 0, x is 1, and x is 2. They're all different, so it is a function. 3, x is 0, x is 1, x is 2. They're all different, therefore it is a function. And the last one, number 4, x is 0, x is 1, x is 1. We do have one that is repeating the ones, and so it cannot be a function. So our answer needs to be the one that has only 2 and 3, and that answer choice is C. Before we continue on, you need to get out your flowchart on solving equations. It may also be helpful to get out your vocabulary sheet that we use in order to translate verbal expressions into mathematical expressions. The difference between what we've done in the past is before we've just written expressions. Now we're going to write equations, meaning we're going to have an equal sign, and we're also going to actually solve them. So the first thing we want to do is find the words that mean equal. So first step, find the words for equal. If I read the first problem, it says 3 times the sum of a number and 4 is the same as 18 more than the number. Our word for equal is the same as. So we know where I see is the same as, that's what we're going to have for equal. The words that come prior to is the same as. I wanted that to be a different color. So the words prior to is the same as are the words that we need to use that comes before the equal sign. So 3 times the sum of a number and 4 is what we need to put before the equal sign. Let's look at the words and see if we can translate. 3 times tells us we're going to be doing some multiplication. The sum of is a combination of both addition and multiplication. Sum of means I'm going to have some parentheses. That's where the multiplication comes in. But the sum tells us we're going to add. So as I'm thinking about this, I know I'm going to have parentheses with a plus sign in between. What follows the sum of tells you what's inside the parentheses. We're going to put a number and 4. We're going to let n represent our number and then and 4. Remember that before it, I need 3 times that amount, and so I'm going to put the 3 in front of the parentheses. Is the same as our equal sign. So now we're going to figure out what goes on the other side of the equal sign. 18 more than a number. More than tells us it is plus, but more than is also a flip word. So that means what comes before the words more than, the 18, now comes behind it, and what follows the more than, the number, comes in front. So on the right-hand side, we get n plus 18. So first we found our word for equal. Second step we did was we translated each side. each side of the equal. And now our last step is we're going to solve the equation using our flow chart. So using our flow chart, we know we draw the line down the equal sign. Do we have parentheses? Yes, we have parentheses, so we need to distribute. That means I'm going to take the 3 that's out front, and I'm going to multiply everything inside the parentheses by that 3. So I'm showing that by putting a little dot above it. This will leave me with, then 3 times n is 3n, plus 3 times 4 is 12, equals 2. I still have my right-hand side. We didn't change anything. Can we combine like terms on each side of the equal sign? No, I cannot combine my n's with numbers. Number 4, do I have variables on both sides? Yes, I do. I have a 3n on the left and an n on the right. So my flowchart says we're going to move the variable that's on the right side to the left by doing the opposite of the coefficient. This coefficient on the right side with my n is a positive n. So doing the opposite, I'm going to do a minus 1n. 3n minus 1n leaves us with 2n. I still have the plus 12. It's equal to 1n minus n is 0, and I still have a positive 18. Step 5 says to box the variable with the term, or the term with the variable. Step 6, do the opposite of the term not in the box. That's the 12. Opposite would be minus 12. We're still left with 2n inside our box. But 12 minus 12 is 0, and 18 minus 12 is 6. The last step, we do the opposite of the coefficient of the box. This is 2 times n, so we're going to divide by that number, divide by 2. That leaves us with n equals 3. Our next problem, 2/3 of a number decreased by 20 is the same as 14. Again, first thing we're going to do is recognize our equal. Is the same as tells us equal, and this one helps us out. It's going to be equal to 14. We've already taken care of the right-hand side. The left-hand side says 2/3 of a number decreased by 20. Of, remember, means multiply. So 2/3 of a number means 2/3 times the number. Decrease by means subtract, so we're going to decrease by 20. So we've translated each side of the equal sign. Now we're going to solve. Draw a line. Do we have parentheses? No. Can we combine like terms? No. Do we have variables on both sides? No, we only have variable on the left side. Box the term with the variable. We're going to box the 2/3 in. Do the opposite of the number not in the box. That's the minus 20, so we're going to add 20 to both sides. And adding 20 to both sides, we have 2/3 in that is still in our box. And negative 20 plus 20 is 0. 14 plus 20 is 34. Our last step then, since it's 2/3 times n, we are going to divide by then 2/3, the quantity 2/3. When I divide by 2/3, notice I'm putting it in parentheses. This last step is going to require that we use a calculator. So get your calculators. When we type it into the calculator, 34 is the numerator. I put it on top. Divided by, what I'm dividing by is a fraction, so I put that in parentheses. Parentheses, and then 2/3 is just 2 divided by 3. Close out the parentheses, press enter, and we get that our answer is 51. On the left-hand side, the 2/3 in the top will cancel with the 2/3 in the bottom, and we're left with n. So n is equal to 51. Our final, or third problem, 2 less than 2 times a number is equal to the number plus 64. So we're going to recognize what our equal is equal to, tells us that's our equal. If I look at what follows, it says equal to the number plus 64. That's an easy translation, the number plus 64. Prior to those words, I have 2 less than 2 times a number, less than Less means minus, but less than is also a flip word. So that means what's in front goes behind. So I know I'm going to have a minus 2. And now what's in front, I need to put, or what's behind it goes up front. 2 times a number, 2 times a number would just be 2n. So I have 2n minus 2 equals n plus 64. Now we want to solve. We'll draw a line. Do we have parentheses? No. Can we combine like terms on each side? No. Do you have variables on both sides? Yes, we have a 2n and we have an n. Do the opposite, or move the variable that's on the right. So our variable on the right is a 1n. We move it by doing the opposite of a coefficient. We have a positive 1n, so opposite's going to be a negative 1n, or a minus 1n. 2n minus 1n gives us 1n. We still have the minus 2. And 1n minus 1n is 0, and we're left with the positive 64. Box the term with the variable, that's our 1n. Do the opposite of the term not in the box. We have a minus 2, so we're going to add 2 to both sides. We still have a 1n. 1 times n is just n. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0, and then 64 plus 2 is 66. Our answer is n equals 66. Our last problem, let's start off by finding the equal, the words that mean equal. Twice the sum of a number and 4 is the same as, there it is the same as 3 times the difference of the number and 2. So let's start at the beginning. Twice the sum of, remember sum of tells you yes we're adding, but we're also multiplying, so we need parentheses. So I know I'm going to have parentheses and an addition prior to my equal sign. Okay, sum of a number and 4, so a number and then 4 inside the parentheses. Twice means I'm going to multiply by 2. After the equal, we have 3 times the difference of a number and 2. So I know I'm going to be 3 times. The difference of is like sum of. Difference means subtract, but because of the of, I do need to multiply. So I'm going to have a parentheses with a minus sign in it. The difference of the number and 2, so the number comes first, 2 comes after the minus sign. We have translated both sides of the equation, and so now we are going to follow our steps in order to solve for our number. We're going to draw a line down the equal sign. Do we have parentheses? Yes, we do. So the number that's on the outside, we're going to multiply each number inside by that number. Each number inside the parentheses multiplied by 2. So n times 2 is 2n, plus 2 times 4 is 8. Equals 2. We have parentheses again. I have a 3, so everything inside the parentheses is going to be multiplied by the 3. So 3 times n is 3n, and 3 times a negative 2 is a negative 6. Now, can we combine like terms on each side? On each side, no. I can't combine the 2n with 8, and I cannot combine the 3n with the negative 6. Do we have variables on both sides? Yes, we do. We have a 2n, and we also have a 3n. So when we have variables on both sides, we're going to move the variable that's on the right to the left. The variable on the right is 3n. We move it to the left by doing the opposite. So opposite of positive 3n is a negative 3n. 2n minus 3n is a negative 1n plus 8 is equal to 3n minus 3n, that's 0. We still have a negative 6. We're going to box the term with the variable. Get rid of the term not in the box, that's the plus 8, so we subtract 8 from both sides. That leaves us with a negative 1n still in our box. Positive 8 minus 8 is 0, and negative 6 minus 8 is a negative 14. The last step is we do the opposite of the coefficient in the box. So n is being multiplied by a negative 1. That means we have to divide by a negative 1. And that will leave us with a positive n. And negative 14 divided by negative 1 is a positive 14. So to summarize what we have done today, we're going to answer our essential question of how can I translate verbal descriptions into an equation and solve it? Okay, the first thing we did, we're going to answer. I can translate and solve verbal descriptions by, the first thing we did was we found the words for equal. Let me go back to the first page. Yeah, we found the words for equal. Sometimes it said equal, sometimes it said is the same as, but there were different words for equal. Then we translated both sides of the equal sign. And then lastly, we solved it using our flow chart. This concludes topic 6-3. If you are doing the cut and paste assignment, continue to listen to the recording, otherwise you may stop. I will explain how the cut and paste assignment works. You have received a worksheet that has several different squares on them. The first thing you want to do is cut all the squares apart. And I would suggest stacking the 10 squares from the first 2 pages in one stack and the 10 squares from the second 2 pages in another stack. Once you have the squares cut, you need to find the square that has the words for your name or the place for your name on it. That is the first square in the top left-hand corner. Make sure you put your name. That way we know who's the chain belonged to. Next, you're going to translate the description into an actual equation. So our description says 12 more than twice the number is 8. So we'll start off with what word means equal. That's the is, so we know it's going to be equal to 8. 12 more than twice the number. More than is plus, but it's also a flip, so that means the 12 goes behind. Twice the number would be 2 times x in front. Next, you're going to look into your other stack and see where can you find the box that actually has that equation, 2x plus 12 equals 8. You're going to paste or tape that box to the previous box. You could even cover up what you originally had or paste it underneath. And now in that new box, you're going to solve. Solve for x, we're going to box the term with the variable. Do the opposite of the term not in the box, so subtract 12 from both sides. That leaves us with a 2x that is still in the box. And an 8 minus 12 is a negative 4. To get the x alone, we have to get rid of the 2 that's in the box. So 2 is being multiplied by x. We're going to divide by. We'll divide by that number. And we get the x by itself because the 2 in the top will cancel the 2 in the bottom. And negative 4 divided by 2 is a negative 2. So now that we've come up with an answer, you'll go back to your first stack. And now you are looking for the box that actually have x equals negative 2 in the top. So we find it with a little ghost on it. There's our answer. You will now tape that box to the previous 2. Now you have to translate. We start the process over again. 3 times the sum of a number and 4 equals 21. Equals 21, because there's our equal. The sum of tells us parentheses with a plus. 3 times goes out front. The sum of a number and 4 would be x plus 4. So now you will go and find the box that has 3 times x plus 4 equals 21, and you will tape it to this box. When you're done, you should have a complete loop where the last box will connect. The last box you have should have the answer that x equals 6. And you will tape that and it will connect to each other. Good luck and don't be scared of equations.